Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Prabhupada Lilamrita, and he's given some instructions on WhatsApp as to where to read from specifically. So I'll just remind myself as to where that is. If I can find the message. Okay, should be 69 or 70, and starting from new paragraph, it was not possible for a bhai to travel with. 69 or 70, this is 55. 69, 70, new paragraph, it was not, oh yeah, good. I use my phone a bit today. Got some recordings from Sripad Ayendra Prabhu on this phone, and we'll play one relevant to the purport shortly. That'll be nice to hear from him. Benefits of technology. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This is Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Chapter's called How Shall I Serve You, which is chapter 4. We're reading from page 70. It was not possible for a bhai to travel with his spiritual master, or even to see him often. His pharmaceutical business kept him busy, and he traveled frequently. Whenever possible, however, he tried time a business trip to Calcutta, when his spiritual master was also there. Thus, over the next 4 years, he managed to see his spiritual master perhaps a dozen times. Whenever a bhai visited Calcutta, the assistant librarian at the Gaudiya Math, Nityananda Brahmachari, would meet him at Howrah train station with a 2-horse carriage belonging to the math. Nityananda saw Abai as an unusually humble and tolerant person. As they rode together to the mat, Abai would inquire eagerly into the latest activities of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, his traveling, his publishing, how many centers were currently open, how his disciples were doing. They wouldn't talk much about Abai's business. Abai would stay at the Gaudiya Math, usually for about 5 days. Sometimes he would visit one of his sisters who lived in Calcutta. But his main reason for coming was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Abai would take advantage of every opportunity to hear him. Abai didn't try to become a leader in the inner management of the Gaudiya Math. His spiritual master had initiated 18 sannyasis who carried out most of the preaching work and leadership of the mission. Abai was always the householder, occupied with his own business and family, never living within the math except for brief visits. And yet he began to develop a close relationship with his spiritual master. Sometimes Abai would go to see him at the Chaitanya Math, at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur. One day at the Chaitanya Math, Abai was in the courtyard when a large poisonous snake crawled out in front of him. Abai called out for his godbrothers, but when they came, everyone simply stood looking, uncertain what to do. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came out on the veranda of the second floor, glanced down, saw the snake, and immediately ordered, "Kill it!" The boy then took a large stick and killed the snake. Srila Prabhupada is the quote. Srila Prabhupada. So I thought, how is it that Guru Maharaj ordered the snake to be killed? I was a little surprised. But later on, I saw this verse. And then I was very glad. Modeta sadhur api arishtika sarpahatya. Even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake. Modeta sadhur api arishtika sarpahatya. Even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake. It had remained a doubt how Guru Maharaj ordered the snake to be killed. But when I read this verse, I was very much pleased that this creature, or creatures like the snake, had not been shown any mercy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was reputed to be so austere and so strong in arguments against other philosophies that even his own disciples were cautious in approaching him if he was sitting alone or if they had no specific business with him. Yet, even though Abhai's contact with him was quite limited, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would always treat him kindly. Srila Prabhupada, quote, "Whenever I met my Guru Maharaj, he would always treat me very affectionately. Sometimes my godbrothers would criticize because I would talk a little freely with him. And they would quote this English saying, 'Fools rush in where angels fear to tread.' But I would think, fool? Well, maybe, but that is the way I am. My Guru Maharaj was always very, very affectionate to me. When I offered obeisances, he used to return, 'Dasosmi, I am your servant.'" Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada ki. Oh, that was beautiful. Any comments or questions on Lilamrita before we go on? Good. It does. Envious is a snake-like quality. Yeah, that's the Sarpa, that the snake is characterized as having an envious nature. So when we criticize, we're demonstrating our own enviousness. So whenever I criticize someone else, I'm actually demonstrating some form of envy. Yeah. So therefore, a Vaishnava should cultivate this mentality that Srila Prabhupada highlights. Using my phone again. This is from Krishna Amrita Bindu by Madhavananda Prabhu, latest edition that just came out. Always includes some beautiful quotes from Srila Prabhupada. This one I'll read to you. This is a good one. The humble demeanor of the saints is divine grace of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is characteristic of advanced Vaishnavas following the principles of bhakti that they think themselves ordinary human beings. This is not an artificial exhibition of humility. A Vaishnava sincerely thinks this way and therefore never admits his exalted position. Purport to Bhagavatam, Canto 24, Chapter 26. Revati Nandandas. Now, Revati Nandandas is speaking. You must be higher than the Paramahansa stage, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, I am lower than you. I am lower than you. Revati Nandandas, you're so beautiful. You are a Paramahansa, but still you are preaching to us. Srila Prabhupada, no, I am lower than you. I am the lowest of all the creatures. I am simply trying to execute the order of my spiritual master. That's all. That should be the business of everyone. Try best. Try your best to execute the higher order. That is the safest way of progressing. Lectures from Surat, 19th of December, 1970. So that's the mentality to cultivate. Like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said to Srila Prabhupada, Dasosmi, he's seeing his disciples as, he's seeing himself as a servant of the disciple. So that's how we have to overcome this wicked, envious nature that we have as conditioned souls, where we think our perspective and our paradigm to be superior to everyone else. And we think that we're in some sort of position to criticize or point out the faults in others. This is not a healthy mentality for progress in bhakti. Rupa Goswami says that in order to acquire the qualification required to develop pure love for Krishna, we have to be completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. And Raghunath Das Goswami says this, Yatha dushtatvam me davayati shatasya pikripaya yatha mayam premam vitamapi dadat yujvalamaso yatha shri gandharva bhajana vidaye pre rayatimam tata goshte kakwa iridaramiha tvam bhajamana. He's instructing his mind. This is Manashiksha. Says, O mind, in a humble voice, worship Giridhari in Braja, so that he mercifully removes my wicked nature. Though I am crafty, so he gives me the sweetness of love for him, and so that he inspires me on matters concerning the worship of his beloved Srimati Radharani. So, for our own development in Krishna consciousness, cultivate and not allow our inherently wicked nature, like Raghunath Das said, to allow envy to be cultivated. Be careful about it, because the tendency is to think we're in some sort of position to point out the faults in others, or think that someone else's service, I could do someone else's service better than they can. But no one's doing anything enough as well as it should be. My perspective on what it should be is higher. All of these sorts of mentalities block our taste for chanting, our absorption in Krishna. I'm absorbed in criticizing others. Not good. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, reading from Canto 4, Chapter 19, King Prithu's 100 horse sacrifices. And we're reading from texts 4 through to 7. And on the board, we have text number 4. There's a purport at text number 7. So we'll read through to there and speak from the purport. Please repeat. Andito Ragasharvabhyam Lokapalai Sahanugai Upagiyamano Gandharver Munibish Tapsaro Ganai Anvito Brahma Sharvabhyam Lokapalai Sahanugai Upagiyamano Gandharver Munibish Tapsaro Ganai Anvito Brahma Sharvabhyam Kapalai Sahanugai Upakiyamano Kantarvir Udhishthapsaro Ganai. Vaishnavas. Anvito Sharvabhyam Lokapalaya Sahanugai Upagiyamano Gandharvir Munivishapsaro Ganai. One's not enough. Anvito Brahma Sharvabhyam Lokapalaya Sahanugai Upagiyamano Gandharvir Munivishapsaro Ganai. Translation. Please repeat. When Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the chief predominating personalities of every planet, as well as their followers, came with him. When he appeared on the scene, the residents of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the residents of Apsara Loka all praised him. Reading text 5. Siddha Vidyadhara Daitya Danava Gu Yakadayaha Sunandananda Pramukhaha Harshada Pravara Harehe. The Lord was accompanied by the residents of Siddhaloka and Vidyadhara Loka, all the descendants of Diti and the demons and the yakshas. He was also accompanied by his chief associates, headed by Sunanda and Nanda. Kapilo Narado Dato, text 6, Yogesha Sanakadayaha, Ham an Viyur Bhagavata Yecha Tat Sevanot Sukhaha. Translation. Great devotees who were always engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as the great sages named Kapila, Narada, and Dattatreya, and masters of mystic powers, headed by Sanaka Kumara, all attended the great sacrifice with Lord Vishnu. Text 7. Yatra dharma dukha bhumihi sarvakama dukha sati tokti smabit sitan arthan yajamanasya bharata. Translation. My dear Vidura, in that great sacrifice, the entire land came to be like the milk-producing Kamadhenu. And thus, by the performance of yajna, all daily necessities for life were supplied. Purport. In this verse, the word dharma dukha is significant, for it indicates Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is also known as Surabhi. Surabhi, cows, inhabit the spiritual world. And as stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is engaged in tending these cows. Surabhir abhipalayantam. One can milk a Surabhi cow as often as one likes, and the cow will deliver as much milk as one requires. Milk, of course, is necessary for the production of so many milk products, especially clarified butter, which is required for the performance of great sacrifices. Unless we are prepared to perform the prescribed sacrifices, our supply of the necessities of life will be checked. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Lord Brahma created human society along with yajna, the performance of sacrifice. Yajna means Lord Vishnu, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sacrifice means working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, however, it is very difficult to find qualified brahmanas who can perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas. Therefore, it is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Hi. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai. That one performs Sankirtan Yagya, and by satisfying the Yagya Purusha, Lord Chaitanya, one can derive all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past. King Prithu and others derived all the necessities of life from the earthly planet by performing great sacrifices. Now, the Sankirtan movement has already been started by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join in the society's activities. Then there will be no scarcity. If Sankirtan Yagya is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. Therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life, social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, in reading these verses, it's interesting to note how Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrifice. And he appeared with Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and the chief predominating personalities of every planet. So it came up, a question came up in my mind in reading this as to which Lord Vishnu is this that is appearing? Who is which form of the Lord is this that's appearing? Okay, this finishes. In the following chapter, I think it's in text 22. I read through this chapter, couldn't see any mention, and looked in Diva Goswami and Vishnu Chakrabarti Thakur, couldn't see any mention of who that was. So kept reading through, came to chapter 20, text 22, Srila Prabhupada. In his purport to that verse, he says, Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because he lives in one of the planetary systems within this universe, he sometimes plays as if one of the demigods of this universe. When he first appeared before Prithu Maharaj, he was not touching the ground of this earth, but when he was fully satisfied with the behavior and character of Maharaj Prithu, he immediately acted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan from Vaikuntha. So in the first part of this little quote, which is just 2 sentences in the middle of a purport, on a different verse, Prabhupada says, Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because he lives in one of the planetary systems, because he lives in one of the planetary systems within this universe. So we know that there is the abode of Shwetadweep within the universe that Kshoradakshai Vishnu resides in. He's the third of the Purusha avatars that expand from the second Chatuvyuha. The first Chatuvyuha is Chatur means 4, Vyuha means expansion or form, and the Purusha avatars, they come from this second Chaturvyuha expansion. So it goes, hierarchy is like this: Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in Vrindavan. He expands as Vasudeva Krishna in Mathura and Dwarka. It's the first Chaturvyuha, first expansion. Vasudeva, Sankasham, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha present in Dwarka. Then we have Vaikuntha Lokas. Lord expands as the second Chaturvyuha expansion into the Vaikuntha Lokas, all of which expand from Vasudeva and Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. From Sankarshan, who is, so in Braj we have Krishna and Balaram, in Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, Balaram expands in Mathura as Baladev, into Dwarka as Baladev, into Vaikuntha as Sankarshan. From Sankarshan comes the Purusha avatars. Purusha avatars, first one being Karanadakshayi Vishnu, who lies in the causal ocean between the material and spiritual realms. From him comes all of the universes on the pause of his transcendental form. All of the universes are manifested in creation. As he inhales, they're all unmanifested. So in his exhalation, they're manifested, and the Lord then appears in each universe as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. He expands, which is he's lying on the bottom of the ocean in the bottom of the universe, and then he expands to Kshoradakshai Vishnu in Shwetadweep. And this Kshoradakshai Vishnu is the super soul within every atom, accompanying every jiva. He is all existence. His attributes are everything that make up existence. They are all his Shaktis. And when Krishna descends, he appears through the form of Mahavishnu, but he's Swayam Bhagavan. And when he descends, then all of his expansions expand with him. Shastra says that this knowledge of the Purusha avatars frees the conditioned soul from material existence. How is that? Because by that knowledge, the conditioned soul becomes connected with transcendence. One can see the original cause of existence, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in Vrindavan. So by that transcendental knowledge, heart is purified, and devotion for the Lord is manifest. So this form of Vishnu within the universe, he's appearing all of the devas for the yajna. And later, at the completion of the yajna, which is where this purport that I read from comes, then he gives his blessings to Prithu, and because of the nature of Prithu's bhakti, he reciprocates with Prithu. Ye tamam prapadyante tam sataiva pajamnaham. Whatever bhakti the bhakta has, the Lord reciprocates with in kind. So Prithu's bhakti was such that when he first appeared before Prithu Maharaj, he was not touching the ground of this earth, but when he was fully satisfied with the behavior and character of Maharaj Prithu, he immediately acted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan from Vaikuntha. So then the Lord, as he appears in the Vaikuntha realm, in which Prithu has devotion for him, was reciprocating with him in his form as he had manifested. Because ultimately, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam, all the Lord's forms are one. And Advaitam, they're non-different from one another. Achyutam, they're all infallible. Anantarupam, there's unlimited forms of Krishna beyond our material comprehension. Well, we already know there's one form for every jiva because there's one form that resides with every jiva in the heart as Paramatma. So Anantarupa, there's unlimited forms of the Lord. Who is the Krishna that you love? That's Yatamam Prapadyante. That's how he reciprocates with you, with us. How many Krishnas are sometimes applying our material intelligence, our material experience of time and space and the limitations of matter onto the spiritual world. We think, oh, well, how do we all fit? How do we all fit in Krishna Lila? There's already a this one and that one, and there's all the different associates. How do we all fit? These matters are actually achintya, they're inconceivable. We can't conceive of them. They are beyond the limitations of our ability to conceive. They're inconceivable. We can't pull the concept down into our material intelligence and grasp it and control it and own it and say, I know. It's achintya. But Anantarupam, Brahman Samhita says. So there's space for everyone, there's Krishna for everyone. So, and then it also says that later, Prabhupada says, out of affection for Prithu Maharaj, he touched the earth, but rested the front of his head on the raised shoulders of Garuda, his carrier. So this is relaxed and friendly behavior, right? So Mahavishnu, he's Vishnu, he's displaying Aishwarya, he's above the ground, everyone's in awe and reverence, he's the chief of the demigods, he's Sadashwarya Purna, Yaiha Bhagavansa Swayam, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's above the ground, he's nothing to do with anything, he's nothing to do with material creation, he's nothing to do with matter, he's present there before everyone, there's awe and reverence. Later, Prithu's bhakti, Prithu's love, affection for the Lord comes out. The Lord showing his affection in reciprocation to Prithu, he comes to the ground. It's like he's relaxed, puts his head on the shoulder of Garuda, his character in a relaxed posture, and is showing his affection to his devotee. This is the Lord's sweetness. This is the Lord's kindness. In amongst all of that situation, he is showing his love and affection for his devotee. This is always the case. In any point in existence, you can always take shelter of Krishna. His love and affection is always right there for us at any moment. So Prithu, he's experiencing this affectionate posture of Krishna. You can imagine, you can meditate, you can picture based on what you've heard in Shastra. It's not speculation. It's bona fide meditation through hearing, Shravana Dasha. I can picture Lord Vishnu resting his head on the shoulder of Garuda, his carrier. Garuda's probably, he's got a feathery body. He's got a little Garuda at the moment. Is it a Garuda? Is it considered a Garuda or something else? Very soft, very soft. It's very soothing. It's the Lord's carrier. Garuda's, Krishna sits on Garuda, goes around, enjoys, Garuda swoops through the creation, throughout the universe, is providing so much pleasure to Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu is very comfortably putting his head on Garuda's shoulder. And this way, he's showing his relaxed demeanor. When someone relaxes before you, it means, oh, there's a friend. I don't need to be uptight around this person. I don't need to be, I can just relax, be affectionate. He's not wanting anything from me other than love. You can't do that with anyone else. If someone, there's some thing, I want something, or someone generally comes, they want something. Can't relax. When someone comes, they don't want anything. They just like you for who you are. It doesn't matter. And this is love. So this is actual love. Nindriya Pativancha. That I just want to please Krishna's senses, not Atmendriya Pativancha. Haribari, calm. I'm just always trying to please my senses. I'm just approaching you to get something that I want. That's not love. That's karma. That's desire. That's lust. Love is, I just want to please you. I like you so much. I just want to please you. That's prema. So, Lord is experiencing that from Prithu. He's relaxed. And he's showing that love and affection. Just by his posture, he's reciprocating with the desires of the heart of Prithu. That comes a bit later. It's very nice. So that was the question. Who is this for me? Who is this Vishnu that's coming? That's where I got to with that. And then the main emphasis Srila Prabhupada's making in his purport is that the yajna to perform in this age is Sankirtan Yajna. It is given by the Yajna Purusha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who in this particular age is a very unique form of the Yoga avatar, as he's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna from Braj, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not the general avatar that comes in the Kali Yuga to give Nam Yajna, who may be a Jiva or some other expansion of the Lord. In this particular Kali Yuga, following Krishna's descent in the previous Dwapara Yuga, the person that does that is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna himself. He does that because he's got his own purposes to fulfill. And then as a byproduct of fulfilling his own purposes, he also does the job of the Yuga avatar for the Kali Yuga. So it's a very special Kali Yuga because in this Kali Yuga, the bhakti available from the Nam Yajna, from the Yuga Dharma, is a rare type of bhakti, not the usual type of Vaikuntha bhakti that's available in every Kali Yuga through performance of Nam Yajna, but it's Braja Prema, Krishna Prema. And you can read more about that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi, chapter 3 and chapter 4. So, one of Srila Prabhupada's servants, disciples, faithful followers, Shripad Ayendra Prabhu. Again, I'm looking at my phone. There's a program today in remembrance of Ayendra Prabhu, and today is his appearance or disappearance? Appearance, yeah. So Ayendra Prabhu was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He joined in the mid-1970s. He's from New York, and sometime in the early 1980s, he moved to Vrindavan and decided that he's just going to stay in Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna. They're very good decisions to make in your life. And he dedicated himself to serving Srila Prabhupada by chanting Hare Krishna and he established a 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan. And all those devotees that knew him or would come and visit Vrindavan would make it part of their regular visits. That's what it meant for me, going to Vrindavan, to go to Ayendra Prabhu's kirtan in the evening, go on Parakram with Dinabandhu Prabhu, with Mahanidhi Swami at the time. And my Guru Maharaj was also living near to the Krishna Balaram complex with Govinda Maharaj. And I'd stay nearby to serve him. And then he'd encourage us to go on programs, go on yatras, and we'd always go for the evening kirtan with Ayendra Prabhu. And he had a great passion for engaging others in kirtan. Like if you caught his eye in the kirtan, he'd kind of reel you in. It's quite intense. It was quite nice. Really, you kind of really got the sense that he wanted you to make sure that you were absorbed in the kirtan. Your mind was there, nowhere else. Yeah. And if you got to know him, then he'd bring you in. I joined the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I met the devotees in 1993, started visiting the temple. And I moved into the temple part-time at the end of 95 and moved in 96. And I started doing traveling Sankirtan. There was one Guru Kuli at the time. His name was Yana Sham. He was Ridha Prabhu's son. And we used to take him on traveling Sankirtan with us. He was a couple of years younger than us. He was a nice, enthusiastic youth. He wasn't practicing sadhana particularly at that time, but he was just, it's just the Vaishnava, because he's a Vaishnava from before. He just sadhana, no sadhana, he's a Krishna conscious person. And but he was coming into the realm of bhakti, and he was particularly getting inspired by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He used to practice a lot of mridanga. We were in the ashram at the time. He used to come and stay in the ashram, and he'd just be playing the mridanga all the time. he was very enthusiastic. We used to take him on Sankirtan. And then after a couple of years, he got initiated from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and he moved to Vrindavan. And he stayed in the ashram next to Ayendra Prabhu, and he used to play drum for Ayendra. And I had another Sankirtan buddy, a devotee called Padayatra Das. He was a disciple of Lokanath Swami. And he also moved to Vrindavan after doing some Padayatra. And he was also in Ayendra's crew. And so when I would come to Vrindavan, I used to go in Kartik and after Gurpanim, went twice a year for a number of years. And I used to get to, because I was friends with them, I used to go along and hang out a little bit. Ayendra Prabhu used to be, he was an amazing Vaishnava. My Guru Maharaj said that one time he was walking to the temple for Mangalati, and he heard him rolling in the dust in Vrindavan, somewhere just behind the temple, crying out. He didn't even recognize the devotees as they were going by. It was like earlier than Mangalati. He was a fully absorbed and dedicated Vaishnava who set a wonderful example of taking exclusive shelter of the holy name, maintaining exclusive faith in his spiritual master. And as a result of that, he shared lots of things about his own spiritual realizations, which is generally rare for a devotee to do that. And he shared lots of things about his affection for Krishna and his love for Krishna and the nature of his attachment to Krishna and his spiritual aspirations. So devotees that had his association were very fortunate. And he was very dedicated to kirtan, and he was a musician, wonderful. He used to always try and come up with new, engaging melodies for kirtan, so that the kirtans were very enlivening and refreshed, uplifting for the devotees. You'd hear his kirtans being sung in temples, being played on recordings in kitchens and around ashrams. And even today, you still hear his kirtans as very famous. And he inspired many devotees in kirtan. Particularly, he inspired many devotees who were born into devotee family seen that how he very much inspired this generation of Srila Prabhupada's and the devotees that came shortly after Srila Prabhupada's time, their children in Krishna consciousness, by emphasizing the essence of bhakti and not getting bogged down in anything else, basically anything else. He was just into chanting Hare Krishna, which is the essence of the Yuga Dharma, to engage in Sankirtan Yoga. So, and he set an example that by that, then one can develop one's love for Krishna. And so we're very fortunate to have his memory, because by remembering devotees and feeling separation from devotees, then that is a deep form of absorption in Krishna consciousness. And his example is there for the followers of Srila Prabhupada, that by faithful service to the spiritual master and engagement in the Sankirtan Yajna, then Krishna consciousness can be fully developed. So I have some recordings of Ayendra Prabhu, and this is a short one actually, and I'm not sure how well it's going to come out, but we'll see. So Srila Prabhupada says in his purport here, therefore it is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam that by performing Sankirtan Yagya and by satisfying the Yagya Purusha, Lord Chaitanya, one can derive all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past. So this is a little recording titled Yuga Dharma, and this is Ayendra Prabhu's words. So let's hear from him.
In this age of Kali, no other devotional activity supersedes the Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. All other dharmic activities, devotional activities, subordinate themselves to the service of the Yuga Dharma. All other spiritual processes or practices can be considered legitimate to the extent that they serve to enhance the performances of Harinam Sankirtan.
You hear that? Not very good. Not really. A little bit. Not very clear. No, that's a shame. Anyway, he said that all other performances become of devotional service that we do. They become basically worthwhile or validated to the extent that they support our engagement in Sankirtan. Yeah, and that this is the exclusive Yuga Dharma for this age. Yeah, I'm sorry that you can hear it very clearly, but these recordings are available. I've got these from YouTube. If you go on to YouTube and type Ayendra Prabhu playlist, you can get a whole load of recordings of him, and he makes some very good points. He's quite an outspoken person. He's got a very kind of in-your-face type personality. He's very strong personality. Everyone's got a different nature. He's a very strong personality. He wasn't he wouldn't hold back on kind of sharing his mind, and yeah, he's a very inspiring person. So yeah, so there's going to be nice kirtans later as well in glorification of Ayendra and for our own spiritual sustenance. So that will be nice. Sripad Ayendra Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, any questions or comments? Prabhu. interesting. Yeah, that's right. So the demons and the yakshas. Yeah, so the whole crew, everyone came. You know, like when Krishna manifests the universe, then when Krishna manifests creation, then all of these beings become manifest. They all are ultimately aspects of his personality. They're all ultimately aspects of his nature, and even the demoniac qualities in the material world are reflections of their original pure forms in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, there's demons, but they're not envious or antagonistic or demonic in nature, but they're there to serve in Leela and to perform and to provide variety to the Lord's pastimes. So they're Shaktis of Krishna that are manifest in order to enhance Krishna's enjoyment. In the material world, everything is a reflection of the original pure form of that thing in the spiritual world. So those same Shaktis that in their pure form exist in the spiritual world, in the material creation, they also exist in their either reflected or shadow form. So they're also aspects of Krishna's, they're Krishna Shaktis. So when Krishna turns up, all of his Shaktis are actually present with him. They're always with him. Even if it appears that Krishna is alone, he's never actually alone. Krishna's always, all of his Shaktis are always present with him. So here in this pastime, some of those Shaktis are manifest also with Krishna as he comes, Vishnu as he comes. So we're getting a picture of Krishna and his Shaktis manifesting. Because Vishnu's come, so Vishnu means Vishnu and all his Shaktis. So they've also come. So for Vaishnavas, then we can see here's Krishna and all of his Shaktis appearing, and that's what it means when Krishna appears. He appears with all of his Shaktis. So in the material world, sometimes those Shaktis are the reflections of the original Shakti, and they're performing demoniac activity. But in the spiritual world, those Shaktis in their pure form, they're also performing similar activities, but it's not demonic, it's all for Krishna's pleasure. Yeah. Does that help a little bit? Yeah. So are these Shaktis that are appearing with Krishna, these people, are they the spiritual, pure, original forms of these personalities, or are they them? Yeah. So now I have to look into that. It's raised a good question. I'd say that they are the original pure forms, the original Shaktis of Krishna that are manifesting within. Yeah, because they're not displaying anything demonic there. So they would be. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So everything in existence is a manifestation of Krishna and his Shakti. And everything in existence in its pure form exists in the spiritual world. The material world is a reflection of that pure form of existence. Yeah. So the original forms of all objects and Shaktis are there in the spiritual world. Mm. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Material Shakti. Material energy is always separate from Krishna. He's always in Krishna's shadow. Maya Achatada Pashrayam. Vyasadeva in first canto Bhagavatam. Is it 5th or 7th chapter? Trying to think of the whole shloka now, but it's not coming to mind. But but one line in the shloka that I'm thinking of is Maya Chatad Apashrayam. That Maya, she Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranate Amale Apashat Purusham Purnam Maya Chatad Apashrayam. So Vyasadeva in his pure trance of Bhakti Yogena Manasi, by his Bhakti Yogena Manasi, Samyak Pranate Amale, Apashat, Purusham Purna, Purusha Purna. Maya, he saw the Supreme Person, the original person. Vyasadeva in his trance of Bhakti, he saw the original person, and he saw Maya Chatad Pashrayam. He saw that Maya was in his shadow. So Prakriti is eternal. Prakriti is eternal. Everything is eternal. The only thing that's not eternal is the karma of the living entity. Everything else is eternal. How that is regarding different Shaktis in material creation is quite inconceivable. But that is the statement of Shastra. So Prakriti is Krishna's eternal Shakti. It stays in his shadow, separate. Now, what is that? What is Prakriti? Prakriti is the reflected form of Yogamaya, of Swarup Shakti, of Krishna's internal potency. So that's what it is. It's like a reflection. 15th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Purushottam Yoga, Krishna's explaining reflection. The roots are upward. So the original Shakti, the original forms of all attributes, of all everything, is in the spiritual world. In the material world, we have a reflection. I'm doing this with my hands, trying to give an example. Like a mirror. Krishna uses the example of a mirror, but he says a lake. And that, like a lake on its bank with the tree. The real tree is there, but the roots of that tree are coming down, and there in the lake, in the reflection, the roots are up and the branches are down. So ultimately, all material existence is a reflection of spiritual existence. But so the original forms of Krishna's Shaktis are present there in Vaikuntha Loka, in the Vaikuntha realm. They're eternal. Here in Prakriti, the reflections are also eternal. Because Prakriti is eternal. It's either manifest or not manifest. But it's an eternal Shakti of Krishna. Krishna's Shaktis are eternal. There's no state of non-being of Prakriti. Prakriti is always. It's either manifest or withdrawn within Krishna. In withdrawn within Krishna, it still is. When it's manifest, it's manifest. Yeah. The Prakriti is eternal. Yeah. Like that. Something else? Any other comments or questions? Natalie? It's good. It's a good question. Actually, Prabhupada says later, I read, also saying, I'm looking for my iPad thing, but I have to put it away. I'm not going to be able to find it anyway, I don't think. But Prabhupada, later on, Prabhupada says that only Prithu saw him. Yeah. And I didn't get to query that any further, but it came to my mind because Prabhupada says it later in this next chapter 20. That's where it comes up, I believe. But I've read the whole chapter and I'm trying to place where Prabhupada says that. It might be in this chapter, or it might be in the next. I think it's in the next. It's like, what confused me was that here it says that he arrives and he appears with all of his associates. Right? And then he does the yajna and everything. And then he says, and then the way it's written, it sounds like he appeared again. But I wasn't sure about it because from this, it seems like he's already there, present for the yajna. So then I started speculating, or maybe it was a long yajna. Maybe he turned up, he was there at the start, yajna went on, he left. At the end of the yajna, he manifested again to Prithu, at which time no one else saw him, only thing. That's speculation. It's kind of like, could be, but I haven't read anything on it. I need to do a bit more to find out. There's probably something on it. But Prabhupada definitely says that only Prithu saw him at that later date. But here, me, I can't comment right now as to, seems like everyone saw him, but not specifically mentioned. So these are Shastra meditations. And this is meditation. This is the nectar of hearing from Shastra. Question it, meditate on it, absorb yourself on it, you know. By that absorption in Shastra, the heart becomes purified. Bhavo jnana tapasa. So, yeah. And I've even forgotten what your question was now. What was your question? If anyone else saw him. Yeah. If anyone else saw him. Right. Yes. No, that is, I'm pretty sure that's the point where Prabhupada says this is what Prithu saw. So my understanding is that was, which is an interesting point, that one devotee can be experiencing Krishna. There's no doubt other devotees there. They weren't seeing. They weren't having the same experience. As Krishna's Yayatamam Prapadyante, he's reciprocating with every single devotee differently. No one's getting the same experience. No one. Everyone's sat in the same kirtan, but what's going on for each individual is down to their relationship with Krishna. Yeah. Everyone's sat doing the same japa. Everyone's sat listening to the same class, but no one's really listening to the same class because we're all listening to our version of the class according to what's going on for me in my life and what's relevant for me and what does that mean for me, and right, it's all ultimately Krishna's absolute. We're having that subjective experience of him. Prithu. That was Prithu's wrath. That was Prithu's special experience based on his bhakti. That's my understanding. Yeah. And that's what it's like in Krishna Lila all the time for everyone. Everyone's seeing something totally different. Cowherd boys walk past Radhakund, they don't even know it's there. They don't even see it. Not even in their purview. Not even there. Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan, he was on Parakram. So many great sages, so many great personalities have been through, but no one else has discovered Radhakund. Mahaprabhu did. Speaks to the nature of Mahaprabhu's love for Krishna. So it's always individual. And therefore, we criticize. What are we criticizing? No, it's, yeah. Like Prabhupada's. In this way we can use it. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. That is a good saying. It does have sense. Everything has sense in some context. Everything has sense in some context. It's the truth. It does. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, jai jai, Sitanath Pitai Gaura Premanandi. No.